It's a tale as old as most modern video game engines. Video game releases in practically an unfinished state due to bugs or lack of optimization, and it has happened once again. In this case, it's a bit more complicated because I have been playing a lot of Borderlands 4, and I actually think it's pretty damn good. At least it's the best that Borderlands has been, in my opinion, since Borderlands 2, which was the last one that I invested a lot of time into. I have played pretty much all of them and they never really hooked me again, but a lot of what they've done with Borderlands 4 has. I think that at the core, this is a really good one of those. It's not the type of game that will change your mind if you haven't been into the idea before, but it does refine most of the things that Borderlands has done right and does it as right as it has been done in the past. It also changes a lot of the tone of the series to just be a bit more adult and better in many ways, reducing a lot of the annoyance that the series had kind of relied on and trades that in for some other things. And still, despite being kind of addicted to it and just playing a ton of it and having a lot of fun, I cannot recommend Borderlands 4 to pretty much anybody. And yes, that does have to do with some absolutely atrocious performance that makes you question if anybody tested this game at all. And while we're at it, bonus points for the CEO of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, making a complete fool of himself and insulting his customers and basically gamers in general over and over again relentlessly ever since those problems have cropped up. So look, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk about those performance issues, and that's going to be marked in the chapters below because hopefully those things have been fixed in the future. And after we're done with that and Randy Pitchford's kind of response to it, I'm going to give you a review of Borderlands 4 that hopefully will still be valid in a while, in an ideal scenario where those performance issues have been fixed. By the way, hi, I'm Mug, and if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, welcome back. It's great to see you, and you're looking fantastic, and with no need for nanite or ray tracing. If you like the video at any point, make sure to like the video, because it helps it spread throughout the YouTube algorithm. And if you like what I do, the way that I cover video games, news, reviews, essays, all sorts of things, maybe consider subscribing, but you can do that towards the end of the video once you're convinced that what I do is worth your time. Let's catch a ride. So let me preface all of this by saying that between some of the updates that have happened and tweaking a lot of the settings on Borderlands 4, I've gotten the game to run pretty well, at least pretty stable. You might be wondering, if it's running well for me, why would I complain about performance? And that's because I consider myself a reviewer. I consider myself as close to a journalist as I could be without actually being a journalist because I believe in standards. Most people are not running an i9 and a 4090. According to Steam's user surveys, most people are running a 4060 followed by a 3060 of NVIDIA's GPUs, and that only accounts for 9% of the player base. The amount of people running a 4090 or the similar 5080 to 5090s are about 1%. My performance is not indicative of most people's, and if I'm struggling to run the game and have to tinker with it, most people are not able to play it in what I would consider a satisfactory manner. It's just kind of borked, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Frames go down and experience go down as well. The game can't really handle a lot of what's going on, and what makes it even more confusing is that it's not a game that really looks very graphically demanding. It doesn't look all that different from previous Borderlands entries, which means that it's very highly stylized and it does not require things like ray tracing or something like that to look good. And still, somehow, not even when chaos of thousands of explosions are happening, just when you're exploring the open world, you will see your frames drop. Now, Gearbox has said that they're working on it, but when that will happen and if it will be good is a completely different question. For now, what we have heard both from Gearbox and from Randy Pitchford, more on that in just a minute, is that you should use things like DLSS and frame generation, which are things that specifically with frame generation, not even everybody has access to. But the idea that we have to rely on these crutches to make the game run well at all, and that it does to some degree impact the visual fidelity, not to mention a whole host of other problems that come with it of just how much are we relying on these upscaling technologies just to get mediocre looking games on Unreal Engine 5, or in the case of Borderlands, highly stylized games that can look great but definitely don't look like they are here to set the world on fire and definitely shouldn't set your GPU on fire. How are we getting terrible performance on these games to the point that it feels like we're expecting everybody to use these technologies in order to get a baseline decent performance? And even with that, it comes with a lot of tweaking in order to get it working. I cannot recommend Borderlands 4 on PC for the very simple reason that you don't know if the game will run well for you. But odds are it won't. Will that change? I would probably say so. I'd bet money that it will improve over time, but that doesn't mean you should run out and spend money on it right now. Rather, I'd say you should probably wait for a sale, and the game is good enough that I would actually say that waiting for some package down the line with the DLC included will be a heck of a good time and probably a heck of a good deal. Now, what about consoles? Well, consoles are kind of even worse. We've already had issues with the fact that the FOV on consoles is incredibly low to get performance to work basically at all. And then beyond that, we're now starting to see a lot of people who are reaching endgame, basically bringing the game down to its knees at 1 FPS, just not working basically at all when some of the more complex things are happening, and it doesn't even matter if you're running it on a PS5 Pro. It also seems to be suffering from memory leaks, meaning that the longer that the game is running, the worse that the performance goes and you need to restart it, which doesn't sound like the end of the world, but this is why I said, did anybody test this? How is it possible that by playing the game for around 2 to 3 hours, your performance just goes down across the board no matter what you're doing on the fixed hardware of console? On top of that, the reaction to all of this from the company, or at least from Randy Pitchford, has been absolutely disastrous. He has blamed gamers for not having strong enough computers. He's told people that ask him why these problems are happening to go and code their own engine, which is funny enough considering that they're not even using their own engine. They're just using Unreal Engine 5. What a shocker. He's been doing hands-on tech support, helping people to fix their settings and saying how to fix the game, including telling people with 5080s that they need to turn on frame generation and recommending people disable fog, which is not a setting in the game. It's actually one of the mods that people have put up on PC that seems to improve performance is, yeah, taking out the fog. But why is the CEO of Gearbox recommending you do that? Does he not know what settings they put in their own game? A now phenomenally viral tweet from him says, every PC gamer must accept the reality of their relationship between their hardware and what the software they are running is doing. And he has said that you wouldn't try to run a monster truck with a leaf blower's engine, as if to say that you should have a better PC because Borderlands 4 is a premium game for premium gamers. Basically, the new equivalent of if you're just a broke boy, say so. This also spirals into a thread talking about how great the game is and the team is and how it's all greatly optimized. And we're not even talking yet about when he went on a rant about how customer support tickets on performance were like only 1,000 people according to his quick maths. And that of that very, very small amount, telling people what settings they should use fixed most issues, as if to gaslight the entire gaming community into believing that this game that everybody that plays it complains about performance no matter the platform doesn't actually have any performance issues. But also, if it does, just buy a better PC, you absolute dumpster broke boy. Thank you, Randy. It really just fills me with energy and willingness to buy every product you make. Randy, I just love this attitude from the people who sell me things. Thank you, Randy. I'm waiting for Aliens Colonial Marines 2. Once people started confronting Randy and telling him that they shouldn't be responsible for the performance of the game or need to be tuning it and modding it and hacking it in order for it to run well, he has now told them that if they don't like it, they should just refund the game, which at this point, I would recommend you just don't buy it. Save yourself a step. Look, I've said it many times and I'll say it again. Randy Pitchford didn't make Borderlands 4. Just like every time that some absolute idiot decides that it's their turn to speak out of line on social media and make an entire team look like idiots. And while Gearbox's response to the situation has not been adequate, at least it hasn't been insulting like Randy Pitchford's. Borderlands 4 is a pretty quality game, in my opinion, that was made by a team that just wants people to enjoy the game. And sure, they messed up on the way. They messed up pretty bad on that performance side. But all in all, they've made a good game, and I don't believe that they should be punished for Randy Pitchford being Randy Pitchford, which is to say, a complete idiot. However, I would completely understand if somebody read Randy Pitchford's comments and said, I do not want to support absolutely anything that this man has even touched slightly. And in that case, yeah. Laugh from the sidelines. It is laugh worthy. I hope that this was entertaining, this little segment, and you can move on. Or you can also hear my review of Borderlands 4, the actual game, coming up now if you would like to, just for curiosity's sake. Speaking of which, Borderlands 4 is pretty good. So look, the bigger innovations that have been done to the game are mainly that it is now an open world, and some of the structural changes to how builds work. There's a lot more potential creativity and chaos that can go around with those builds, including the 4 new characters, of which I chose Amon and played the game on hard difficulty. All the new characters seem to be slight twists on things that have existed in the series before, but with their own little flavor. And of course, the highlight of it all is the loot. Scouring the open world, doing different activities, and finding different places to farm bosses that drop really cool guns or armor or equipment for you to craft your way into becoming an absolute menace, just a walking tank of destruction. And that core of the game is really damn solid. A lot of the areas of the open world and the dungeon structures are very fun. A lot of those activities feel meaningful, and I'm excited every time I find one, because most of the time, the biggest reward from them is getting to fight a new boss. And so far, most of it, because I haven't explored everything in the open world, the bosses are really damn good, and the loot that you can get from them is really, really fun, and gets you sparking that creativity of, what if I did this other thing with what I just got? Could I do this thing? And then you hunt down more loot in order to make that idea a reality, and you get to revel in the chaos and the overpoweredness of it all. The only other problem there does have to do with the tone and the comedy, and that is the game is kind of buggy in a couple of places, specifically around scripted sequences with NPCs. Just a lot of awkward silences as people walk around and then deliver their lines, and then you walk behind them and stuff. And that kind of does ruin a lot of moments, because it turns out that timing is a pretty important part of comedy. And that does kind of sting. But everything else, especially the highlights of the game, things from the vaults to those bosses to the big achievements and the progression of it all, it's just really damn good. And I'm having a great time with it. And I should stop playing it because there's other things that require my attention, and I'm sad that I have to. But the world keeps on turning. It's still Borderlands. It's just now got a weird grappling hook and a bit of schmovement with air dashes and gliding, and an open world to explore for those different bosses and activities. But the main structure of the game is that you have to go to 3 different regions, basically nice little forest region, tundra ice forest region, and desert region, fire beaches region. And you complete main quests for the different factions there until you head to a final boss, which is, as per usual in the series, set up at the very start, the Timekeeper. Along that path, you will explore these regions, head into smaller, more controlled dungeon areas, solve some little environmental puzzles, figure your way around some climbing ones, and obtain a ton of loot to shoot things with. And in that process, all of it is pretty damn good, and it is refined down to a T at this point, including the feeling of progression or how those weapons fit in with each other, and just how good everything is with its feedback. Honestly, the only problem that I find with Borderlands 4 so far is that, from what I understand, starting a new character in endgame, skipping the campaign is not working as it should, and some of the endgame systems don't seem to be working as they should either. But there are free content updates that intend to remedy that. It's not an excuse though. Those things, in my opinion, should be there day one, not 1 month later. But I can't really complain that much because I feel like the core experience of getting to late game is incredibly satisfying and meaty as well. The other real big complaint is that as a Borderlands game, it's not that great of a shooter. It's pretty great as an ARPG shooter, but not just as a shooter. And it does take quite a while to get started. I would say that anywhere between 8 to 10 hours until you really have access to all of the different equipment slots and you start getting guns that have affixes that are more creative in how they interact with the rest of your gear to go absolutely crazy. But until that point, you're kind of just playing an okay-ish shooter for a pretty long while without really interacting with the things that make Borderlands special, which is that loot-based ARPG stuff. Once that does get into full swing, if you do go through that initial period that's maybe not that enjoyable, once you start getting guns with crazy affixes that interact and synergize with other parts of your gear to go absolutely crazy into chain reaction builds of insanity, man, the loot bug kind of is there and everything else sustains it very well. Exploring the open world, finding those bosses, doing the little puzzles, and even just looking around at some of the cool stuff that there is enough to keep you engaged as you follow that treadmill, and that treadmill is enjoyable and fun with plenty of guns that do crazy things and little jokes that will motivate you to continue forward if you like the humor here. And that is the final piece of the puzzle that is very much worth talking about. The writing style and the tone of Borderlands 4 is very different from previous Borderlands games, and in my opinion, better. It's not that the old Borderlands games didn't have good writing, I just feel like they were of a time and place. And that time and place went, and that style became boring and old. Gone is a lot of the annoying, abrasive toilet humor and claptrap inanely screaming in your ear, and it's been changed for a little bit more tasteful jokes, less referential, less reliant on social things and more on just other games, a little bit on its own writing chops, and a lot more on its own internal universe and making references to previous characters and things from the series. Overall, it's less annoying and it actually can be pretty funny. I've had some of those more genuine comedy writings around characters make me smile, and I do like the characterization of a lot of them, including Amon, the character that I chose, which does consistently make me smile with his approach to things, which I think is pretty nuanced and above the stereotype of Neanderthal with axes, and is more just kind of likes violence but is pretty smart and just kind of noble. There is a lot to like in this if you do like it. But if you don't like that new tone, bad news for you, there's a lot of it. I, for one, have found it enjoyable, and I'm having a pretty good time with Borderlands 4 to the point that I wanted to make an early impressions video, and instead I just played a lot more of Borderlands 4, which I'm glad I did, because I get to give a much more complete view of things because of that. I think this is Borderlands at the best it's been in a pretty long while. It just takes a while to realize, because those early hours are really not the best. But once it gets rolling, it got me excited all over again for something that I haven't been excited for in almost 13 to 12 years, which is, man, I can't wait to do this again with a new character or with DLC, although more realistically, I've got a lot of reviews and things to do on this channel, so, you know, when they do an eventual Game of the Year edition with everything there, I'll probably give it another run through. But getting to be excited for Borderlands is good, because it very easily could have died, and it could have died with the release of this game, and according to a lot of people, because of those performance issues, it might be dead, but I think it'll be fine in the end, mostly because even with all of those problems, when a game is good, which this game is somewhere between good to great. Depending on how much you enjoy the very concept of the FPS looter shooter, it'll probably do fine. Even if Randy Pitchford insists on trying to destroy his own company and his own legacy every waking minute. Randy, are you okay? Do we need to send somebody to check up on you? You've got money, man. Why don't you do something fun? Have you considered putting down your phone and not being on Twitter or X or whatever? At this point, I'm convinced that if X didn't exist, Randy Pitchford would start a social media site just to be able to piss people off. Oh, God damn it. But Borderlands 4, really good. I really enjoy it, and I can't recommend it. But eventually, it'll be fine. And at that point, I'm glad we get to play some good Borderlands for those of us who enjoy it, and hopefully whatever they do with it in the future is good. I hope that clears up some of the stuff around Borderlands 4, and I hope that it informed you of if it might be for you or not, and also informed you of just how terrible the situation is, especially for Mr. Pitchford. But you know what situation isn't terrible? This channel's. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers, so here at the end of the video, maybe consider subscribing. Wouldn't that be great? That would be nice. You would get a ton of news, reviews, and video essays from me, all for free, which is, and this is true, $70 less than Borderlands 4. In any case though, thank you so much for watching. It means a ton. And an extra special thanks to the members of The Wall, be they patrons over at patreon.com or members here on YouTube, and they support what I do here every single day. I've been Mug. Go out there, enjoy some great video games. If you've got a supercomputer, maybe even Borderlands 4. As always, I'll see you again very soon.